Okay, thank you. So, I'd like you to talk about homosexuality.
Why?
Because I'm wonderfully in love with a woman for the first time in my life, and I have a really deep internal reaction to being defined as a lesbian. And I'm struggling with the sense of myself as totally in love and open-minded and loving and accepting, and yet this place of challenge or fear.
Well, what this subject really amplifies is another subject that is really worth being amplified, and that is you're totally in love and you feel absolutely wonderful. And if you didn't give a rip what anybody else thought, then we wouldn't be having this discussion. That would be like someone presenting something really wonderful to eat and then telling you the immorality of eating it. And you just have to say, well, then turn your eyes because I'm going to eat it. In other words, I can't guide myself by what you think I should do. And we know that's hard because all of you have trained yourselves to reach for the approval of others, because when somebody appreciates you or approves of you, it does feel good. We know it does. And we're not teaching selfishness in lieu of getting along with others. We're just teaching selfishness first. We're saying if you're not selfish enough to please yourself, you're certainly not going to please anybody else anyway. And you can't stand on your head in enough different ways to please all of them. So like the autistic child that comes forth unwilling to be different so that they will feather other people's nests, you're the same way. You've come forth intending something different, understanding that they can love you or not, but that it's not up to you to change your sexual orientation in order to please them, you see. And they can like it or not, but the important thing is you have to get over hurting when they choose not to like it. It has to not matter to you. We see so many people who are homosexual, who have the potential of living fabulous lives, who want to throw their homosexuality in the faces of those who are not ready to accept it, and then they are unhappy that they're not ready to accept it. And we say, don't ask them to be able to change their vibration. You're not able to change your vibration. In other words, that's like saying, I need you to feel different about what I'm doing. And we say, no, you don't. Practice the art of allowing and be in love and have your experience and stop caring what anybody else thinks about it. And that takes some practice.
So it feels more challenging on a more global level than on a personal level. It doesn't feel so challenging meeting my kids or people close to me in my life nearly as much as it does in terms of what I think of as
Let's consider some things. Have you ever had a meal with someone who didn't believe in eating meat, who really only eats vegetables, who is really sure about the appropriateness of only eating vegetables? And have you ever eaten a meal with them and had them lecture you the whole time about the inappropriateness of what you're eating? Can you imagine being a staunch Republican and going to a Democratic convention determined to get them to see your way? It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? In other words,
yeah.
you wouldn't even try that. You wouldn't. Well, some of you do, but it's really dumb. So why would you go into an environment that has clearly decided what they think and make any effort at all about getting them to understand or change their mind?
Right. So the subject itself is neutral, and it just
makes no difference at all. And the reason, it's all in the ethers now. Everybody's got it all stirred up because they want to have same-sex marriages and they want to make legislation about it. And we say, you are really a funny lot because you break more laws than you keep. You do. As a society, you have all of these laws on your books and all of these things that you're wanting to make legal. There's a law being broken right now. Did anyone read the guidelines when they came? see how effective laws are? It clearly says, turn off your cell phone. Don't bring cell phones into the meeting room. And someone's cell phone was ringing. Who was it? Stand up. We want to bring... We're not ever going to get them to do what we need them to do so that we can be happy, are we? And so you just have to give it up and do your best to be happy anyway, you see. And not worry about what's happening globally, and don't get part of some movement that's pushing against things. Just fall in love and be in love and live happily ever after.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The subject of blending, I've been trying to blend with my inner being. I think I have been blessed in every aspect of my life, and thanks to you as well. And now I'm in the point where I would like to go further to, and during my meditation, I express that, and so I would like to get something more from you for me to get to that point.
Well, blending, we want to start with something that is absolute. You're always blended to some degree because you are an extension of source energy, and you couldn't exist if there wasn't some blending, because life means blending is happening. But when we use the word blending, and we can tell when you use it, what you mean is, I want to consciously and consistently raise my vibration into such consistent alignment with that which is my source, that now I have all of the benefits of that broader, clearer, open channel, so to speak. I want to open my vortex. I want to open my valve. I want to be in alignment with this source energy. So now we want to say to you that this is a varying degrees situation. In other words, sometimes you're more in alignment, sometimes you're less in alignment, you're never really out of alignment. Sometimes you're more blended, sometimes you're less blended, but you can't cease to be blended. So it's really what we've been talking about all day here today. The more joyful you are, the more in alignment you are. Now, the reason that we teach meditation is because, frankly, you're going to laugh at this maybe, but it's easier to teach you to have no thought than to have pure positive thought. It's actually easier to get you to just numb out your mind and not focus on anything than it is to choose some positive thought on a subject where you don't feel so positive. So meditation is what meditation does. Think about it. When you quiet your mind, you stop thought. So if you've stopped thought or slowed it considerably, then you've stopped or slowed considerably any resistance. And in the absence of resistance, there must be allowance. So quieting the mind allows a natural raising of vibration. Many people don't feel that they're getting anything done in meditation, in the quieting of mind, because they want to be more actively directing thought. But we do not encourage you to actively direct thought during meditation until you are absolutely sure that you are in a place of pure positive energy. In other words, once you release resistance and you get into this place of pure positive energy, then you can direct thought anywhere you want to. So the blending process, as you are describing it, and as we wrote in the early book, is finding a thought through trial and error, or finding a point of focus through trial and error that causes a sensation of relaxation and detachment from any resistance that is keeping you from your alignment. The reason we teach meditation is because when you consistently find that place of detachment, then you viscerally begin to acknowledge more consciously when you are in resistance or when you are in allowing. In other words, we encourage meditation every day, especially in the beginning. And not for long periods of time, but for short periods of time. And what you begin to notice it is a progressive thing. In other words, when you quiet your mind in meditation on Monday, on Tuesday, it's easier for you to get there because you have the visceral sensation cellular memory of what that felt like. When you sit on Wednesday and you reach for that detached state, it's easier than it was on Tuesday or Monday because there's a cellular memory of what that state of vibrational allowance feels like. So then you reach the place where you can be someone like Esther, and even under extreme conditions, you can detach and allow alignment with broader perspective. The benefit of that detachment and that alignment with broader perspective is that you then have access to everything that vibration knows. In other words, when Esther allows herself to raise her vibration so that she matches the frequency that is Abraham, she becomes Abraham. In other words, infinite intelligence begins to flow through her because there's not resistance that's keeping her from receiving it, you see. Now we would like to say to you that you are often in that blended state when you are joyous. You are often in that blended state when you are eager and interested. In other words, it doesn't always mean a quieted mind. It means always a non-resistant mind, you see. So the degree to which you are blended is really something for only you to know. And we want it to be a comparative thing to you, only about you. We don't ever want you to compare your blended state with Esther's or your blended state with somebody else's, any more than we want you to compare your emotional state with anyone else's. In other words, we think it is so valuable to notice, oh, I've gone from not feeling very good to feeling a little better. Then you got a little more blended. When you move from depression to rage, you're more blended than you were a little moment ago. And when you move from rage to anger, you're more blended than you were a moment ago. And when you move from anger to overwhelmment, you're more blended than you were. And when you move from overwhelmment to hope, you're more blended than you were. In other words, we don't want to only call ecstasy blended. We want to acknowledge that it's all blended to some degree, and we want you to be looking for your degrees of improving your blendedness. And that's the thing that keeps more of you from achieving your blending than all other things put together. You keep comparing yourself to somebody else, or you compare yourself to another time. Have you ever had an out-of-body experience? Or have you ever had an experience where you felt that connection very strong, and then next time when you don't get it, you beat up on yourself because you achieved it and now you can't get it back? Don't compare anything to anything. Just compare where you are to where you're going. And as you make that incremental change, then you will discover that under all conditions, no matter what, you can achieve alignment with Source, which means you'll be tuned in, tapped in, turned on. Your timing will be brilliant. The words that flow from you will be meaningful. The way your body feels will be sensational.